Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome once again to the United Regional Chamber of Commerce's weekly update. We try to bring on some interesting guests and some interesting programs and things that are happening around the area. And today I'm lucky enough to bring on Miss Danielle Fish from the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. And she's in charge of she wears about 10 hats over there.
Yeah.
But Danielle, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Jack. It's so exciting to be here. This is great.
Well, first off, tell us about you.
Oh, sure. Well, my name again is Danielle Fish, and I'm the Chief Development and Public Affairs Officer. Lucky enough to be here at the Joe Andruzzi Foundation in Attleboro, Massachusetts, North Attleboro, Massachusetts. And really, live in the area, live in Mansfield, husband, two kids, long time involved, invested in the community. So working for the foundation is just a culmination of all those many years. But big fan of keeping our communities and businesses strong. So for me, every day I get to come to work and put all of that behind helping cancer patients throughout New England.
And we'll talk a little bit in a minute about Joe, but he's done such tremendous stuff with his foundation, throughout the state, and that's done with your help and the team over there. So,
Yes.
first off, give us a little history of the foundation and tell us a little bit about Joe.
Sure, sure. So I think everybody knows three-time Super Bowl champion and former New England Patriot Joe Andruzzi. And in 2007, he was diagnosed very unexpectedly with non-Hodgkin's Burkitt's lymphoma, which took him off the playing field and fighting for his life. Thankfully, through modern medicine and Boston hospitals, he's with us today. But he knew then from after sitting in a hospital with his wife, Jennifer, they were fortunate to be able to go through that cancer journey without being impacted by their finances, but they overheard many who did not have that luxury. And they said, we need to help. We survived this. How can we help from our position? And that they did. So 1 year later in 2008, they founded the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. We are a nonprofit and we've been around for 17 years now, which we're so proud of. And we help cancer patients with everyday household expenses. So that's the rent, the utilities, food on the table, literally rides to treatment through Lyft, and some extraordinary needs that may fall outside, certainly much more expensive needs that they may encounter. And that's what we try to do. We don't do medical bills or the health insurance payments, credit card bills. We're trying to say, you worry about your health. We're going to be here to help you with those everyday expenses and take that stress off your plate.
Well, again, it's been such a tremendous help to so many families in the area. How do you identify who needs help and how do you award the grants?
Yeah,
Tell us a little bit about that.
sure, it's a great question. It is because there's so many people in need. But we work with over 100 hospitals throughout New England, specifically with social workers and patient navigators within those hospitals and treatment centers to identify those patients in need, right? How are they? Who are the patients that are experiencing what we call financial toxicity because of the cancer diagnosis? And they're able to apply for assistance through JAF, through an online portal that we have. So those applications identified by a social worker, put right into the system, sent right over to the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. We evaluate the application. We're very proud. We have an incredibly low declination rate because we help patients of any age and any type of cancer who are in treatment throughout New England. Those are the only criteria. We try to fill as many as we can. And those that are eligible, we will pay the vendors directly. So that payment goes directly to the mortgage lender. It goes directly to the phone company so that, again, there's some accountability in that payment. But we work very closely with healthcare providers.
Well, and one of the other big things about your foundation, there's many, many foundations out there, but Joe and Jen put that personal touch. They visit people, they talk to people, they're real people that you can see and talk to on a regular basis. And, they understand what some of these families are going through. And it makes the compassion that they show is just absolutely tremendous.
Oh, Jack, you're so right. They put their heart and soul into it, and it is a team effort. It is a Joe and Jen organization. They are here every day. They are the ones, whether they're talking to hospitals, trying to find out what the latest needs are of our patients. Jen created a healthcare council to gather some people to help guide us, right? We're not medical professionals, so we rely on the input of those that are. And Joe, his best moments, he's our chief engagement officer. And he says that's the title he loves best after probably being husband and father of five, right? Which I always love sharing that. But his moments with the patients are some of the most heartwarming that you'll ever see for this giant, lineman. Down on his one knee, sitting with a patient. The photo that you have has are perfect, and he relates to them all the time. He's been in their shoes.
I've been lucky enough through the years to meet with Joe, sit and have a couple of conversations with him.
Yeah.
He's a real person. He's not any of these big-headed superstars. He's a real person, and he really gets down into personal conversations, not with just regular folks like us, but more importantly, with the patients that you support.
He is. And if I could just add as a quick aside, one of those moments playing right off of that, I've been in hospital visits. We went to a pediatric ward 2 years ago as part of a road trip throughout New England. We're in Boston, pediatric unit, sitting with a patient. And you could tell the young patient's like, who's this big guy? Right. He doesn't know Super Bowls, and he knows Tom. Do you know Tom Brady? Is a question we get a lot. But Joe doesn't miss a beat. They get to talking about, hey, the cancer, I was where you were. And now they're like, what are you talking about? And then if there's anybody that's been through a cancer journey or been a caregiver to one, you know that sometimes people have ports put in your shoulder and it does leave a scar. Well, Joe will pull aside his shirt and show them that scar. And very often the children have one as well. And the connection is like this,
Absolutely.
and everything else goes away. And Joe's sole focus is always on the patients, young or old.
I've been lucky enough to be with him in public, and he never turns people away. He's always got a kind word for somebody. And I've seen him get mobbed, and he
Yeah.
just keeps his cool. He's just a regular guy.
He really he's enjoying this part of his life. He, loves New England, loves the Patriots, but I think this is a man that has found his calling, and he's lucky to do it every day with his wife and his family, and and all of us alongside him.
He's got a great team over there. Now, the foundation talks about the real cost of cancer or the financial toxicity. What is that, and what's the need look like right now, and how do you think it's going to go landscape for the patients?
Yeah, it's really tough out there right now. We're seeing an increase just in the last week. We receive an average of 33 grants a week, and that's just in one of the areas that we serve because we do financial assistance, food, treatment, transportation, extraordinary needs. And the increase was by 25%. And that be due in large part to post COVID. People are still now just catching up with all of their routine appointments. And unfortunately, if they've put any of that off, it results in a later stage diagnosis, which means instead of maybe working through treatment, you can't work through treatment. So we're seeing the need go up. It never really goes away. It's there. But the whole need that we address, Jack, and thank you for asking that, is financial toxicity, or as we call it, the real cost of cancer. Because when you hear cancer, you're thinking immediately, as you should, about your health. But what kind of comes down the pike after the fact is you realize you can't work like you could before,
That's
or
right.
the means that you have, and we're talking people at all stations of life, the means that you have now are going to go towards every life-saving medical treatment, device, medicine that you need. And who wouldn't do that? But it does put your household in jeopardy. So that's where we come in and say, hey, we might not be able to resolve everything, but we do what we can.
And I wish we had more organizations like this that help in the background, because, like you said, everybody concentrates on their health when they hear that. But what happens to the rest of the family? What happens to the household? The bill collectors, they don't care. They don't want to hear it. Um,
Absolutely.
and there's very little compassion with some of those folks.
It's
Well,
true. We hear more and more that that's like really the biggest thing, and that what a relief it is. Again, we can't pay all the bills, but the patient's feedback, of course, with gratitude, and it's lovely to receive those notes. But they say literally they'll open the envelope and say that it was like such a relief. Just in that moment, it was like hope arrived in the mail. And when you hear that, you just really understand the profound impact you're having every day. And by sharing, allowing me to say this today and share this with your listeners and viewers is because they're the donor community. And so if you give us $25 or $2,500, know that that's exactly what it's gone to do. It's to bring hope to somebody.
Well, there's such a need out there right now, as you mentioned, right after COVID. We're very, very lucky to live in the area that we live because we've got some very generous people in our local communities that help support these. But to support this greater need, fundraising must be the key. So, how's that going, and what are some of the things that JAF does to raise money throughout the year?
Yeah, every day, Jack, every day. There are people right
Yeah.
outside my door that are, and I will give a big shout out to this team that they work with, put their heart and soul into this every single day to create activities across the board. And we like to think at JF, we diversify our fundraising so that we can do what we need to do. So the development team works very hard. We host a variety of different events. So in May, we're going to have a hometown hop over, and we say hometown because we do it in our backyard. We support a local brewery, which is important to support local business. See, I can wear two hats there at once. But also, we'll celebrate our 17th anniversary. So on May 22nd, we'll gather over at Angle Tree Brewery right there in North Attleboro and raise some funds. And that's a $50 ticket, which is great. So it's a great way to come get to know us. And the other ways that we also fundraise are an annual golf tournament. We're having it's now our 18th annual Joe Andruzzi and Friends golf tournament. So we bring out some celebrities to Black Rock and Hingham Country Club. So that's a super location for us. And then we also do our annual gala, which is probably our signature event that most people know. Where we gather at Gillette Stadium. And again, we have some celebrities and a great auction, live auction, and really just a good time. And at the end of the day, a really good, heartwarming moment or two with some patients to really say, this is why we're here tonight. So we run across the gamut. We have runners. We're getting ready to put 22 runners out on the Boston Marathon course on Monday. So that's a fun event for us. I'm not running that, but I will be one of the loudest cheerleaders at our cheer station. Mile 17 will be there.
Yeah, that iconic picture of Joe, unfortunately, during the marathon bombing, carrying that lady out of the crowd. That's been around forever.
It does. On one Boston day, just yesterday, it's like a weird little bit of silence here. And I was not working with the foundation at the time, but those that were, it is ingrained in their memory, and just it impacted us. In some of our people, because as some people may know, the Joe Andruzzi Foundation hosted its watch party at Forum. So some people were very close to the spot, and Joe was close by, obviously, and ran to help. Yeah, that's a moving one, but yeah, we don't forget that.
No. So, for you, what's your favorite event that the foundation hosts?
Oh, that's easy. Actually, I have two because of yesterday's activities, but my favorite events aren't even fundraising ones. They're the upbeat events that we do, and it's sort of like our fifth lane or pillar of activity. And these are the ones that we do for patients, and we take patients and their family members out on an activity or to a sporting event where it's all courtesy of JAF, and sometimes our partners will help us with these. But we give them a day of not thinking about cancer. They can let their shoulders down. They can laugh and smile, create a memory that's not centered around a hospital or bad news. They can just go. And so one of the favorites is Codzilla, where it's a high speed boat that goes out on the Boston
Yep.
Harbor. So they
Yep.
get wet, they splash. We provide lunch for the day, tickets to the aquarium, we pay for their parking. And that's one of those moments where they come off just hugging and giggling, and they get to bring family members. So for me, when I get to see the patients living in a bit of um, a lighter moment, that's a big one. And I will see what caps it off and really again brings it home was yesterday, as you know, and I think you just showed the picture from all of us gathering with a patient. Was we were in Norton, and thanks to our partners at Stop and Shop in Poland Spring, we delivered and surprised her. We managed to surprise. Took 2 months in the planning. 1 year's worth of groceries from Stop and Shop and a year's worth of Poland Spring water for her and her family. So you see Carrie there in the middle with the overalls and the lavender shirt underneath. But they couldn't have been a nicer family. They were amazing. And her heart was pure and deserved every bit of this wonderful surprise. And those moments had, I think, almost all of us in tears. She was just so warm and I think so appreciative. It lifted a burden, which is why the Joe Andruzzi Foundation exists.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, as we close out, have you got any final notes for us?
Gosh, I was going to say, check us out online. That's the best way to say, hey, you know what, you guys sound fun or cool, or maybe this is something that I'd like to get involved in, because I think we've all been touched by cancer, whether it's a neighbor, a colleague, a family member, or God forbid, yourself, right? And I think it's so prevalent, and it's something, we are a foundation that serves to say, let's come together and try to help some people with some very basic everyday needs that we know that we would want help with, if the situation or the tables were turned. And I think we need to remember, too, at any point in time, it could be one of it arrives at your
That's
own
right.
doorstep. I can say, I can speak from personal experience. My husband is a survivor, now 2 times. So for me, this one hits home very personally. And again, fortunately, we weren't in this situation, but every day I believe that, I'm here, and I know the Andruzzis are here, and so many of my other colleagues, we're all here to pay it forward because we get it. So if you're somebody that gets it, wants to do some good, even just wants to come and hang out with Joe, just like you, Jack, you and Joe go way back. Let's all hang out and do some good. And get involved and ask questions. We're here, and we really do love. Remember, there's a whole host of people out there that could use a hand.
Well, Danielle Fish from the Joe Andruzzi Foundation, thanks for taking the time to come on the show today. Hopefully, we can spread the word a little bit more, and get some folks to get more involved in the Andruzzi Foundation. But anything that we can do, please let us know.
No, proud chamber members, and thank you so much, Jack, for having me. This was a great deal of fun.
Yeah,
Great.
it's nice and quick and easy. Big shout out to James Friedman and the team over there at AACS that put up with me every week, and we truly appreciate everything they do for the local communities. So, Danielle, thank you, folks. Thanks again for joining us, and please be safe.